I hit the go
everybody.
button and it said it disconnected. So we get a little bit of
Oh, it's
do-over today.
disconnected.
You know, choice by choice. We got to hit the go button and go live, right? So let's get
Go
it.
do this. Do it.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
I don't know, Dan. I
because-
think Ryan needs some more behind the wheel training.
No,
You know,
here's the thing. I was laughing at my head off while the video was playing because how many times have any of you, right? If you've ever done any kind of video or anything, and I've recorded a lot of courses where it's like you get everything set up and you give this unbelievable presentation where you knock the socks off of it. And you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to say it. You walk over and you never pushed record. You're like, oh my God.
well, no, it did work. I did hit the go. It hit the 3, 2, 1, and then it said
yeah.
So what I'm
Okay,
saying is all the restream people, they went out to Starbucks this morning because happy Red Cup Day for everybody. You know, it's that big day that everybody waits for, the Christmas Cup. So definitely.
whatever
Is
you
today
say,
Christmas Cup Day at Starbucks?
It is, yeah. It's November 17th of every year. It's the big day, you know. Like I saw lines all over on Instagram and TikTok this morning. So happy Red Cup.
So
Day,
let me
everybody.
ask you a question because I've got a theory here. How many names are in the beverage you order from Starbucks?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't. It's none of your business. No, I'm just joking. I will not diverge on my details of my beverages of choice. Those are complete secrets to me. So no, I'm just joking.
So
I just
not
get
like a latte mocha, almond milk, sachet, skinny, something.
You know what, Dan? That joke was
Fudge.
funny when you first said it 4 years ago when we first met.
Oh,
I'm just joking, guys. I'm just joking.
on fire. It must be the man bun. He's on
Oh,
fire
man.
today. Look at him. He's going, man. He's going.
Yeah, he's all fired up.
He's ripping it. Yeah, he's fired up.
Wow.
Hey, choice by choice. Everybody has a choice.
got
That's
the
it.
high five.
That's it.
That's it.
First
He's got
choice,
the high
do I
five.
want Starbucks?
There's
Second
only
choice,
two.
do I want 9 names in my coffee? Third choice, it's all good. Hey, I used to be that guy at Tim's that ordered the English toffee coffee. I don't know if any of y'all have ever had.
Pretty good. That sounds pretty good.
Oh, it comes with insulin because it gives you diabetes is what it does. And it was my drink of choice. I used to go to every hockey game with my kids with a large English toffee coffee and a pocket full of candy. And it would be like, you know, those, have you guys ever had those like the sour hard candies where it's like kind of, well, it's not hard. Well, it's hard for a second. Anyways, and you wonder why I have diabetes.
I was just gonna say, I feel like you have a sugar addiction. Like the other episode, you're talking about the juice packs, you know, the juice things, and we're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And like, now, see, there we go. So
I do have a sugar addiction.
I think Lisa's got something going on too there.
Yeah,
with the sugar stuff.
Rico, my main man, Rico. Everybody, keep your socks on today. It is cold, Kyle, and I do. I've already got this fire started in the garage, brother. Grand Chi latte. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
See?
exactly.
Like 5 letters to your drink.
Yeah, there you go.
So for all of you, geez, Rico, I think the last time you were on the show was December, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
when we did when DJ and I did the all-day stream. So for those of you that don't know Rico is the choice pioneer. He wrote Just Two Choices. What an amazing book, both the first edition and second edition. And Rico is here today to talk to us about choice and the power of choice, but yet how simple choice is and how sometimes choice can really screw us up. And then the best part is the very next choice, we're right back to it. Rico, welcome, brother. It's so good to see you again, man.
Honor and privilege. And I'm just nice to meet Jeff and Ryan and Lisa and Daman. Good morning. And thank you so much for the opportunity. Dan, you look great. And I have to tell you, starting off with choice, well, considering what happened just before the show started, 3, 2, 1, go, you know, just 2 choices there. You're right. It is so simple, but at the same time, it's probably one of the hardest things that we have to do. I mean, throughout your deal, and it's still going on, Dan, you know, most every day I'm there like, wow, Dan's up against something I've never been up against, you know, with your medical challenge. And, you know, it's like, oh, what would my just 2 choices be? And I know that I know my choice would be to continue. I use this hand signal here. This is the upward direction to stay in positive, and this is the opposite direction to going downhill. And it's so easy to slide downhill in this other direction, or as the picture would show,
go
no
no
go
Yep.
direction. It's so easy to slide in
Since
like
you
a
introduced us to that, Rico, I use it all the time. Since you introduced that, it is something that, like Ryan says, yeah, I heard that like 15 times, Dan. You always tell that story. You always tell this story. He harasses me about it all the time. But it's so true, because I can't tell you how many times during the day I actually do it to myself, where this is going bonkers. And I just go, and I just look and I go, oh, Dan, come on, man. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's make it happen. And it's simple, but so powerful.
Oh,
it's so powerful, right? Because yeah, keep going. Go.
I was just gonna say, and too, Dan, it's like I said, I've thought about you, and I think about, and we've all been through our share of of hardships, whether it's in relationships or finances or in health, and far beyond some things that I've ever been through. But at the same time, it all boils down to just two choices. I'm totally amazed every day at the choices you see people make, and to think if we could bring it to that. I mean, that's the mission, is to bring it to the conscious level where you actually know that this is the blueprint. This is the blueprint, and as I see it, the blueprint of life. They're just two choices. Either I continue like this and go, or I do something that's less than that. And so I thought about you so many times, during your deal, and going like, well, what'd I do? Well, I'd say, I'm sure I'm confident that I'd make the choice, but it's not. Maybe you want to share some of your most difficult times when it came to making choices. I don't know if you want to. I'm going to put you on the spot.
No, I can. Sure, I can. But I want, if let's just put something back up there, because I want everybody to see this. So last time Rico was on, Rico sent DJ and I both a book. And Maggie, I am like loving to see this. And Rico, you should really, I mean, this is why you do what you do.
Yeah.
Right. If any one of us, when we start out on this path of personal development, personal growth, the ability to build somebody up and help somebody make better choices. One person's life changes. One person, and it's worth it. And to hear that from Maggie, that it changed DJ's life, and I knew it would. I mean, before you came on, I remember having a long conversation with DJ saying, this guy's going to blow your mind, because we go through life every day making thousands, tens of thousands of choices subconsciously. We never really think about it. And then we make a bad choice or a not so good choice, and it haunts us for so long. But the beautiful thing is, right after you make that choice, you can make another choice to correct it, to start moving around it, and move forward again. And when you were on, I mean, I know DJ for ages afterwards was like, oh man, Rico, like, he's awesome. And so I think that, congratulations to you, my brother, and to DJ for changing his life. And that's awesome. And just, what? That's awesome, man. You got to be proud of that, Rico.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And the source of the material comes from myself. I mean, it's just, what I mean by that is I was just facing these difficult times. And it's like, how do I make sense of it for me? It didn't start off well, gee, I want to make sense of it for other people. It's like, God, I need to make sense of it for me, because my back's against the wall, on, like I said, on any of these kind of issues. And so that's kind of how it evolved.
Well, why don't you start as to how it actually came to be, like how the idea of just two choices came to you?
Well, the real source of it goes back to high school. I kid you not. I applied. I wanted to go to flight school for my pilot, which eventually I was able to do. What might be eventually, So I talking to my guidance, well, she was talking to me, looking at my grades, and she's, "Oh, you're never going to get in the military high school, dude." No, she didn't say dude, but she goes, "You need to go to a junior college." And I mean, she didn't pull any punches. She just hit right between the eyes. And I should have at that point in my life at 17 or something, you know, I kind of have a feeling I should have probably absorbed that and said, okay, maybe she knows something I don't know, you know, and I remember acknowledging her very politely. And then I turned and I walked out of the office and I went, that doesn't sound right. I'm going to apply anyway. And she was right. I turned down the first time. It took me 3 tries to get in, but I got turned down the first time. But the bottom line was, as I walked out the door, I said to myself something to this effect, like, you know, follow her, follow my dream, and I'm going to follow my dream, you know, and so this kind of the just two choices idea got initiated back then, you know, especially as I started to see my dream become reality. And after my dream became reality and I was flying for the military, it was like, wow, maybe there's a lot of other kids that are being told the same thing, you know, and nothing against everybody who's got great grades. I mean, you know, it's everything about, do I listen to me and my inner voice, and what do I want to live and dream and do and be and reach and, you know, whatever I want to do, or do I, at what point do I let somebody else tell me something different, and I choose the choice following my dream of following, actually you're following their dream, as you guys know from being in the personal development side. And so, you know, that's really what originated it. And then I started working with kids a lot because of that, elementary school kids, teaching them a formula called dreams plus action equals reality. That was my first book. And I kept saying to the kids, hey kids, there are only just two choices of action. Either taking actions can take you closer to what you want, or one's going to take you further away from what you want. So you can imagine a formula written out on the board, you know, dreams plus action equals reality. I was talking to them about the actions and listing all the actions that they could take to make life become reality. And I kept repeating just two choices phrase over and over again, closer to, further away from. And I went, huh, this sounds like maybe something the adults would, you know, grown up would listen to, but they don't listen to it. So, and I said that with good humor, because simple, it's almost, it's daunting, because you got to look, and I'm speaking for myself, you got to look yourself square in the face and go, what's my next choice? What is my next choice? As bad as this is, but we could flip that around and say, dude, like as good as it is, can I make this better? Right? That's the other choice.
Sure.
I can make my new high standard an even higher achievable goal. So that's kind of the background to it. It was something that I figured out for me, and then I went, wow, this is what helped me get through flight school. Dreams plus action equals reality. When that formula came to mind, and I said, well, maybe I can help kids who are in that same situation I'm in. And I don't know, Ryan, what does that stir in your mind with regard to your background?
Yeah, I love it. I'm smiling through the whole thing because I kind of do something kind of a little bit different, but it's kind of like the same kind of principles of what you're kind of talking about, the two choices, right? Like I have the thoughts of, like, you know, there's two voices in my head. There's the boss voice, and there is, for the lack of better words, there's the bitch voice. You know, and sometimes when it's like, hey, when I wake up and I don't want to go to the gym, which voice is talking to me, and which one am I gonna let consume me, right?
Yeah.
So I really love exactly what you said about the two choices, because it's really that simple. You know, like in our society now, we kind of like talk about, hey, there's a lot of gray areas, but I don't know, if you deal in the black and white, you kind of get what you want to get as well, right? So I love it. Jeff, I'd kind of love to get your thoughts too. What you kind of think about just having two choices as well?
Absolutely. You know, with those two choices, sometimes you have to make the wrong choice in order to learn to make the right choice. And I think we've all done that some point in our career, that we think this is the right direction, and we find out, unfortunately, the hard way, that that choice that we made was indeed the wrong choice, and it was very painful. And then you start looking at yourself and saying, what am I going to do next, and how am I going to get to that next level? But to get to that next level, there's a lot of pain that's involved in that. It doesn't come that easy. I don't think anybody out there can say that making that right choice is an easy task to do. It takes time. You can't just switch that toggle switch and saying, I'm on the right path. There's a learning process to get there.
And if I add to
sometimes that choice, sorry, go for it, Rico.
I was going to say, there's a contrast. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate what you said there too, Jeff. Is that there's a contrast there between where you want to be and where you're not. And that's what drives things,
Right.
Is that conflict different one or the other. And then that's how you know that's how everybody knows where they are. You know that because of the contrast. They know where they want to be. Dan, Dan?
Oh, you froze up there, Rico. What'd you say?
Oh, no, I just said, Dan, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, no, what I was going to point out was that also sometimes when we make that choice in the moment, it feels like the right choice. And
Sure.
then as we are going down that road, these other people start joining on the highway or getting onto that road, which then we say, yeah, like I'll give you a perfect example. When I first, when I first met you, Rico, we had a program called Complete Child Development. And that's where Rico and I first met. And it was a program for kids. And everything in my life pointed towards this is the right thing. And in the end, my wife Christine was the one that said, like, just be careful of this person. And in the end, turned out to be a reality. But for 6-8 months, it was like, this is what it is. And then in the end, it was something that was kind of like this sabotage. So it, at that point in time, it was the right choice. But the lesson I learned from it, Jeff, like you said, like was enormous. Right? But also it made me a better person because I listened and I paid attention to the lesson inside the challenge, right? And now it's okay, you use that as the baseline for making decisions moving forward, right? And I think in logistics, when you look at it in logistics, right, you look at the sales and logistics, you think you're making a great choice by bringing this customer on, and they end up being that nightmare client that you just, everyone that in the industry is like, stay away from these types of clients. And you're like, yeah, you bring them on and you're like, oh man, I got all this business. Look at me. You pump up your chest and all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, I wish this person didn't exist. And right. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, but now moving forward, it's like, what questions do you ask to figure out if this person's going to be, and I mean, as best as you can, you really, unfortunately, you can ask all the questions in the world until you get into the heart of the storm and into the vortex of the actual like hurricane. Then people's colors come out that you might not necessarily know, right? But at least as salespeople, we can do our best to try and figure that out in the forefront and hopefully avoid it in the future. But that's a choice.
Those are the questions that you need to ask yourself, and you write them down.
Absolutely.
Is this person beneficial to my career? And will this person or will this person not get me to where I need to go? Again, multiple choices that have to be made, but the person that's going to make that choice is nobody else except you.
Yeah.
It's what you conceive, it's what you understand, and it's what you want to do to get there. And those are the choices after writing down all those specifics about those individuals that are in your inner circle that you want to remove.
Yeah, it's like when I first read Rico's book, I remember Rico calling you going, oh my God, like something that you've been doing your whole life and you don't really put it into the forefront of consciousness. It's just always back here operating. And then when you put it into the forefront, it's like, holy crap, is that ever insane? And I remember from that point forward, I would say to people, hey, you chose to work with that client. You made that decision. Yeah. Oh, no. They wanted me to move their freight. I said, no. You made that decision. You made the decision to bring every single friend into your life, every single colleague, every single business partner, you've made all of these decisions. Those are your choices. If you don't like them, change the choice. Right. But don't get pissed off. Like if you bring a customer in that wants to take up 99% of your time and give you 3% margin, don't be pissed off at that customer when they use and abuse you. You made that choice to bring them in. And that I will be forever grateful for Rico because he brought that idea to the forefront.
Very kind. Kind. That's the part, Jeff and Dan, and before that I was trying to address too. You know, Jeff, when you said nobody else, you know, there's nobody else except you, and that's the simplicity and the harshness of just two choices. You look at it and you go, hey, there's nobody else here. You know, the energy is activated right here, right at this point between your two fingers. You know, the energy can go here, go here. And the only person who can flip that switch to make it go one direction or the other is me. And so,
right.
while it's simple to talk about, it's sometimes hard to accept it. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, you know, I created that. You know, Yoda has one of my favorite quotes is from Yoda. Awesome is the dark side stronger. He says no, it's quicker, easier, more seductive. It's easier not to go to the gym. It's quicker, easier to just throw the over into the corner and say somebody pick it up, and then it gets rained on or the snowstorm hits and it ruins the freight. You know, it's always quicker and easier to do the choice that isn't necessarily, more than likely, isn't going to take you in the direction of thriving. You know, it's the choice that's going to take you.
Oh yeah.
So
you are your worst enemy. You yourself. I mean, you can destruct yourself very easily, you know, and that comes down to those choices. You know, like you said, Rico, it's you're making those choices, and you're either going to thrive or not. I mean, that's it. There's only two ways.
And we have that momentum. I'm just thinking right now about Ryan's work stuff. You know, like, you know, how many times do we not want to go to the gym? How many times do we not want to go work out? I had the opportunity to ask that of an Olympian one time, Dara Torres, in an interview, like 4 gold medals after she was pregnant, after she delivered like 18 months. She was like 40, 41 years old and won all these gold medals in swimming. Don't you ever feel, you know, what's it feels like have these days where you don't want to go to the gym? She goes, it's like, I never have those days where I never want to go work. You know, like trying to picture that kind of momentum, that kind of thriving going on in Olympians' mind, where they're at that level of not wrestling like I am with like, can I get 10 more minutes of sleep? No, they're like, no, we're on it. I mean, it's just.
Now, Rico, would you think that would start, or at least a big portion of that would be when your goal, your dream, your ambition, your desire gets a hold of you? It's like where Wayne Dyer says, you know, you have motivation, which kind of comes and goes, and motivation is like pushing a rock up a hill.
Yeah.
Whereas inspiration is when your goal, your dream, your ambition, your desire gets a hold of you, and it like wakes you up in the morning. You know, and I see that more on that Olympic level where it's I'm striving for that like well, pretty much one of the most prestigious awards in the world.
Yeah.
As an Olympian, right? Like if you think about it. Whereas to get to that level, I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, or love your guys' ideas on it. At that level, it's an inspiration where everything you do is designed to get you there, right? Like every choice you make has the underlining, is this going to get me closer to that gold medal or further from? Whereas when it's motivation, it's you have this idea and you're like, oh yeah, that's great. And then a week later, it's like, it wanes. You're like, oh, well, I'll just, you know, I'm not, you know, for example, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life in 12 months. Right. And so for a couple of weeks, right, we see this every year at New Year's. For a couple of weeks, the gyms are packed. And then it's like Ryan said, where you have the boss and the bitch on each shoulder. And the one time where it's like, I'm just going to sleep in and I'll maybe work out this afternoon, and you don't. And then I remember you told me something, Rico. 3 times, it's a choice. When you do something 3 times, it becomes a choice. It's not a, you know, just I made a mistake this morning and I didn't go. It's a choice. Yeah. It's always a choice.
Yeah, it's mental toughness. It's mental toughness every single morning when you wake up, that you have to ingrain that into the process. When you wake up, it's going to be a great day. This is what I'm going to accomplish, and continue doing that every single day. And that's how Olympians get to where they are, because it's mental toughness. No matter how much pain that they go through, they know that they have to do the same rigorous routine every single morning, and they know at some point that they're going to get over those obstacles and it's going to be much greener on the other side. But it's tough getting to that fence and making that jump, but you have to get it in your head every morning.
I think in most professional sports, Ryan, was it you? I think it was you that told me the story of Toronto Raptor basketball player. The one where he was older, so he couldn't go out all night. He had to be like he had to go to bed early, but he was still like a top performer. What was that basketball player?
Yeah, that was Vince Carter. But just to kind of touch on
Vince
that,
Carter.
right? Like, yeah, the one thing to kind of touch on that too is like when you're an Olympian or you're kind of somebody there, you've put people that will keep you accountable, right? You've got coaches, you got people that you can't let down, right? And the one
True.
thing I love about the Olympics, let's say you're a runner, you look at Usain Bolt, probably the greatest runner of all time. He trained for 4 years to run for 30 seconds. Think about that, right? You know, he did that choice by choice. And the story about Vince Carter was like he was 40 years old and he's been in the league for like 20 years, but he kept his body in shape. You know, he always he was like, okay, I'm going to skip out the club nights, choice by choice. You know, he decided that he was going to do that. Where do you guys kind of figure out like accountability comes into it? Because I know Jeff was talking about mental toughness, but you know, coming with the gym thing, I feel like you should always have people, whether it's your inner circle or you should have people like as coaches so that to give you that text like, hey, where the hell are you at 6 a.m.? Why aren't you at the gym? You know, to have that push essentially to kind of get you.
What do you think there, Rico?
Well, for me, I'm much more of a, and I don't always do it, but I'm much more of a person who wants to develop mastery myself without an external, I mean, that's just me, you know, without an external drive. Yeah. So I don't have quite, and you know, I don't have quite that. Accountability is important, is super important. It's just for me, for some reason I just really enjoy the idea of this is mastery of my life. You know, every moment, and I'm looking through my own eyes. You know, and it's good to have. It's fabulous to have that kind of support, and yet at the same time, where does my choice come into this? Where I'm uplifting myself every day, because in the end there's nobody else but me. That's kind of my approach. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And the reason why I say that is that, like I said before, you're your own worst enemy. If you have to be reminded every single morning by an outside source that this is the path that you got to do, why aren't you reminding your own self to do that? You don't need anybody else to guide you. This is your life, like you said, Rico, and that you got to look at yourself every day in that mirror when you wake up. And is that the reflection you want to see? I mean, that's the key question there. I don't think it has anything to do with the coaches, because the coaches can tell you anything, but unless you have it in here, in your heart to do so, to carry that torch forward for your own life, you're not going to succeed, because you're always going to need that outside source to remind you need to constantly do this. So it's you against yourself, I believe.
And adding to Ryan's point too, Jeff, and thank you for that thought, because what comes to mind now too for me is that there probably are some opportunities that could have happened sooner had I had outside influence, you know, to keep me more, you know, to keep me more accountable. It's just my, you know, my own driving train is, and I see that Lisa asked the question, you know, what are some of the ways you keep yourself accountable? Every moment's a just two choices moment. and like Dan said earlier on, Lisa, I have those moments where I have those times throughout the day where I have to cross check myself. And that's all I can say is I do this. I know it's so simple, but it's to me, it's about the mastery. It's about the challenge of being able to be in charge of my own life, you know, and not from an extreme point of view. And I'm not trying to make it sound difficult as much as there's a feeling of self, you know, a feeling of connectivity for me spiritually, to be, you know, to be focused on this mastery of connectedness. Maybe that's a better word, Lisa, as I'm answering your question, is I kind of look at to be accountable as what's my level of connection with my weight, or watching what I'm eating, or watching what I'm exercising. What's my level of connectedness with that? And for me, it's fear. And hopefully I'm not confusing the situation at all. I probably could have accelerated, some things faster through the accountability track, that Ryan had mentioned. I agree with that. It's just my own internal clock, my own internal drive.
Well, I think there's key aspects in what everyone's saying. So, if you look at accountability from an athlete's perspective, right? A lot of the time that coach going one more, right? Just as we always say, one more sales call could be the one that gets you, right? So that coach gives you that more of that instant energy to get over the top, right? The idea of having a schedule, like I can tell you, going through cancer, we had a schedule every day. That's what got us up in the morning. That's what got us prepared. That's what got us into the mindset. That's what got us out. That's what got us back.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden that schedule is gone, you're in a vast world of almost blankness. And it's like, okay, what now? Now we had to create our own schedule when I'm in recovery. And it's like, well, what is that schedule? Every morning I'm going to do this. I'm going to get up. I'm going to have a shower, no matter how I'm feeling. And trust me, there's mornings where I didn't want to see the world. And it's like, no matter how I'm feeling, I got to get up and I got to do this. That's the accountability piece. Then you look at the coaches piece. I think we all, if we ever want to level up in life, we need coaches, because we need people that have been there. I would much rather work with somebody that's been there and take 3 months to get there instead of 3 years to get there, because I keep making mistakes or making the wrong choice or whatever, right? And that, for me, that accountability comes in the form of books a lot of the times, books and online courses. And I have specific books that I have tagged with specific things. Like, for one is Brendan Burchard's Motivation Manifesto, right? We are bold, fierce, and unrelenting in chasing our dreams. And so for me, if my desire is down, I'll pick up that book and I'll read that quote 5 times, 10 times, and I'll be back on fire. I remember one day, because I believe this is how it happens. One day, Ryan, DJ, and myself were talking, and I was like, guys, I'm down. I don't know what it is. And then DJ sent me David Goggins' video on YouTube. Remember this, Ryan?
Yeah.
Like, I literally watched 5 minutes of it, and I was on fire. And I got more things done in the next 2 hours from watching that 5-minute video. And it shook this back into place. And I don't know what unshook it, because I wasn't sick or anything. I don't even remember what it was, but I just remember vividly DJ saying, watch this video. And it was literally David Goggins running through New York when COVID was on. But it was what he was saying. And I was like, and like, it was like a 25-minute video. And I remember I had a grip on my desk where my forearms were like, and I'm like, I gotta go. And I just turned off the video and I started pounding out the day's work. And so, like, we all have different ways that bring us up back to that level of consciousness and back to that level of, as Tony Robbins says, mastery, right? Where we have to be at a level where, if we want to master anything, and that level of that confidence, the physiology, our body changes. We stand up and we understand, okay, the next 30 minutes, I make a choice to do this, right? It's like anything. You write an email. You're going to, choice by choice, make a conscious choice to be intentional about the email or not intentional about the email. And this is where Just Two Choices comes into all sorts of areas of our lives. When we eat, are we intentional about what we eat for the outcome we want? Whether that be health, vitality, or, you know what? Screw it. I want that poutine, and I'm going to order double, and I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to friggin' love it. And that's my choice. That's it. Now, afterwards, that choice might be guilt, but it doesn't matter. We made that choice, right?
Yeah.
And so that's,
just got a question.
The way I see that motivation versus inspiration versus coaches.
And a great example of that. Does anybody here have an Apple Watch? You got an Apple Watch. Rico, do you have an Apple Watch?
No.
Okay.
I don't have any watches.
Okay, no watches. So if you have an Apple Watch, I'm not sure if it's for Samsung, but if you've been sitting down for like an hour, every at 50 minutes, it will give you an alert saying, get up and start moving around. So every hour at the 50 minutes, so at 9:50, because I've been sitting down, it's gonna give me alert on my watch saying, hey, you've been sitting down for too long, get up. And then they kind of have like the stand hours. And I think when it comes down to it, when it comes to the coaching, it's like your whole day is not going to be like this because you're going to be ingrained in your work. Like Dan said with schedules, I'm literally looking at my schedule right now. I know exactly what I'm going to do. But when that 2:50 comes up and I get that message saying, hey,
Sure.
you've been sitting down for too long, go take the dogs outside. That's my choice right there. I'm going to
Right.
go ahead and walk my dogs, or I'm going to do this. Right. So I
Sure.
think like with the two choices, I really like it. And I think Dan was talking that you guys have like a coin or something like that, right? So I got to get one of these coins if you
Ah,
still,
yes.
yeah, I got to get one of these coins if you guys still have. And, you know, thinking about the coin, Dan, those Brazilian steakhouses, more or less, right?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ryan, exactly. Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Rico, you got to get me. Rico, if you can send me a bunch of coins, I'll start sending them out to people.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
get it. I'll get it done.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need one of these coins, and I think it's awesome to think about because Jeff, as you're kind of saying, we get it's mental toughness. We know what we got to do every single day. We got to go and be business ready. We got to be an entrepreneur. We got to wear all the hats, and it's like those 2 minutes of each hour where we have that choice by choice. That's gonna impact like the next hour and the rest of your day.
Well, and I'd like to say, I do very much appreciate, people and even the idea of the Apple Watch, things that kind of help you to trigger, mastery, as I kind of look at it. And I guess the other thought, and so I really do, as I'm thinking back on it now, because that was a great question, yeah, the accountability part, it is important. And yet, like Dan said, the balance part is, though, as I see it, is for some reason I'm just excited about mastery, personal mastery, and not from a control freak from the point of view, wow, I really do direct. One sec.
Just grabbing a visual. Grabbing a visual. I know it. I know it. I've seen that before.
Here's what it's like every day is, you see where that energy's going?
Yeah.
Every one of those, that energy doesn't go that direction unless we, at that point, we flip the switch every single time. And so I guess perhaps, and I appreciate you guys let me talk through this, is how conscious can I make myself about flipping that switch throughout the day on my own, saying, wow, feel that energy flow in that direction of what I want to create, feel that energy flow to, let's go to the gym, and so that's, thanks for letting me share that thought.
And there's also triggers that we can create, right? Like, so for example, Wayne Dyer talked about it a lot, where he says, as soon as my feet hit the floor, I'm up. Mm-hmm. He goes like, there's no snoozing anything. So we can create triggers, right? Your feet hit the floor. It's like, okay, gym time, let's go. And then you create that trigger, which then turns into that habit, right?
Yeah.
When you walk through the door, when I walk through the door of my office, I always touch the top of the door. Mm-hmm. And I say, okay, intention, I'm going to crush it today. And so I sit down with that choice of that I'm going to go like this way. I'm going vertical on what I do. And I'll do that until I get tired, and then I got to go take a nap. And then, but that's more of a recovery thing. But I remember prior to my cancer, it was like you touch the door and it's like you're on fire, rocking it. And to Ryan's suggestion, like scheduling for me is everything. And then this thing is actually a key piece of everything I do. And I have 4 times a day where I get a reminder that says energetic, enthusiastic, and impactful.
Wow.
Because I found as I go through things, if I'm not consciously aware of how I want to be, the choices I want to make, and the outcomes I want, sometimes that wanes, like what Jeff was saying. Where it's like you get into it, you're into it, and all of a sudden, you forget about it, and then it's like you got to bring it back, right? So like the Apple Watch, the reminders that pop up here, all of these things are great little triggers for us just to raise that level of awareness, raise that level of energy, raise that level of excitement just a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like anything, right? You start in Miami, Florida, and you have a straight line and you're trying to go to Vancouver, Canada. If you turn that wheel a quarter of an inch, you're not going to end up anywhere near Vancouver.
Yeah.
But is that quarter of an inch on the low or on the high?
Yeah.
And I like to think if we keep that up, we're always on the high and we're always going, because I believe anyways, people want to associate with people that raise their energy.
Exactly.
And that help them become better people.
Well, I think there's a good word here too that you brought up, Dan, that addresses the whole thing too, from everybody's discussion point, which is, I use the word mastery and it sounds kind of spiritual or, out there, but really the word is consciously. I want to be conscious of my choices, throughout the day, so that I'm always, so I'm tweaking, going like, does it take me closer to or further away from, to what degree, and how's that, how's that all come together? And so we have to understand, in my perspective, from the way I look at just two choices, we've lived just two choices, and everybody's lived just two choices that's ever been a human being in any moment. It's how any human being defines anything. It's, to get a little bit weird, it's how a heart cell defines that it's different from a toenail cell. There's something that makes the choice that says, thou art a toenail and thou art part of the heart. There's something that's intrinsic in all of life that says just two choices, because you either got your black sweatshirt on or your dark sweatshirt on, or you got something different. You're either wearing a baseball hat or you're not.
I would say though, all of us are married here. The only time that two choices doesn't work is when we're asking our wife what they want for dinner. So that's where you gotta, sushi or pizza. I love you, Keisha, if you're watching.
See, Ryan, that comes into the cell though now, brother. That's where you get into
Well,
the
he sells me.
You
gotta polish up on your
you gotta sell pizza is no good and sushi is good.
Well, I need to get Rico's book, so once I get Rico's book, then maybe I'll be able to influence her on what I actually want to eat.
Yeah,
But
read this.
Yeah, well, we'll get that. I'll get that to Dan, and I'll get some coins, and then Jeff, we'll get your information later, and then I'll put one in the mail to you too. And
awesome, I appreciate that, Rico. Thank you.
Thank you guys. This is fun. I mean, it is. I like the word. I think consciously is a much more relatable word for most people. Because we've been we use just two choices unconsciously throughout our entire life. But now to bring it to the next level. And if I can add the other thought here that comes to mind is, we keep talking about, I mean, it's part of the momentum from what I call the Holy Trinity, of Dale Carnegie and Norman Vincent Peale and Napoleon Hill, the Holy Trinity of this whole industry. And the emphasis of the Holy Trinity was take action. And of course it expanded into take massive positive action. We have to remember that massive positive action is a choice. And so consciousness is coming to this whole new level where, it took this bridge of being able to say, take action, take positive action, in Norman Vincent Peale's book coming out in the early 50s, where everybody distanced themselves like, this guy's going to get a lot of people, it's not going to go very well, especially from the professional psychology point of view. And it turned out to be just phenomenal. So they built this bridge with take action, and the next level now is choice. Next level is to know not only is it an action, it's a choice of action, and things
you can have all the dreams in the world. If you never take action towards them, you're never going to achieve them.
And it's like a rocking chair, right? Rocking chair, you can swing it back and forth, but you're not going anywhere, right? So,
that's a good one, Ryan.
One thing that I like that Dan was kind of talking about, is having those reminders. And one thing for me that's really worked, Rico and everyone, is that, stacking habits together.
Yeah.
Making sure that, hey, if I'm going to brush my teeth, I'm going to floss right after. Having those habits that it's basically automated, if that makes sense. As you guys were talking about spiritual, like Dan knows this. Like from 7 to 8 every morning, you can't get a hold of me. I'm doing my prayer. I'm doing my meditation. I'm walking my dogs. That's my time from 7 to 8. Everything else, the world is shut out. It's me and the Lord, and that's strictly it, right? And I think when you have those things in place, because like you guys always say, you got to take action, but you need a plan. You can't just get up in the morning and, you know what? I feel like making 100 grand today. It's like, okay, well, how are you gonna do that? Like how is that? What's that plan? And you got to kind of preparation. What is it?
Plan
Proper
ahead.
planning prevents piss poor performance or something
Yeah.
like that. And you got to always kind of be planned.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think in any aspect, right? Like we all face times in our lives where things change, right? Like Ryan, where you're saying, you brush your teeth and you floss, right? From the radiation, I now have to, I have mouth guards, like mouthpieces. I actually have to use fluoride every night for the rest of my life, or else my teeth will rot from the radiation, believe it or not. And it's like, and it's 5 minutes each tray.
What's
And
5
it was
minutes?
funny because when they first told us, I was like, oh, how in the hell am I going to do this? Like, I've already got a bedtime routine. I got to add 10 minutes
Yeah.
to it. And it was like, okay. And you sit there and you got to rearrange it. And then I was okay, well, I'll do it every third night because I don't really need to do it every night. And then they're like, no, you want to keep your teeth. You need to do it every night. And of course, they got all these pictures in the Princess Margaret's cancer ward of the dental ward. And it's like, you're looking at it like, I don't want to look like that. I know she's right. So it's like, what are you going to do, right? And and so now that routine has an addition to it. Maybe one of your routines might have a subtraction to it or an addition to it. So as we go through life, these things evolve, right? And it's like even our days, right? Even what we do as we go through life, it's okay. That's 7 to 8, and then maybe 8 to 8:30 was like breakfast. Now 8 to 8:30 might be, I really want to read this book. And then breakfast from 8:30 to 9, right? So there's these variables that we bring into our life or take out of our life based on where we want to go, or what we want the end outcome to be, and which is where we want to go, right? So that for me, when you said brushing and flossing, it was like, oh yeah, that for me was like, oh yeah, shit, I needed to add that into my routine. And it's been challenging. It has, because there's some nights I'm so tired. I'm like, I just, and I haven't, and I didn't. And then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I should do it. And the thing is, you can't eat or drink for an hour after.
Wow.
So it's like, do I get up at 5 and just put them in and kind of sit on the toilet for 5 minutes just to let it go, and then go back to bed so I don't, so I don't have to drink. And it's like you're trying to juggle these choices to make sure the end result is what you want. And that's just not business. That's just not, it's everything. It's everything. Your relationship with your children.
Yep.
It's two choices.
choices.
Your relationship with friends, as Jeff said, your inner circle, 2 choices. You know, how many, like Rico's a very, very good friend of mine. We'll text, what, 2 times a month, Rico? 3 times a month?
More than that, yeah. More than
but it's like we never lose connection.
Right.
Brian Byro, dear friend of mine. I'll text him once a month. So it's like that choice where, okay, I'm going to choose today to text Rico. Rico and I used to talk 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
But our lives started to have different things in them, right? And it doesn't mean that we're any less connected. It just means that when we connect, we make the choice to be so much more present with each other. And am I right with that, Rico? Am I correct with what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's one of the connections you never lose. And no, it does. I just keep smiling because my talk about triggers. One of my triggers is to go back to that Yoda quote. I got something I don't want to do, and this, Lisa, maybe this helps you a little bit with what you were asking before. Is I just go, is the dark side stronger? No, it's quicker, it's easier, it's more seductive. It's more seductive. It's quicker and easier to say, I'll do it every third day.
Yeah.
And Dan, I just want to go back.
Start on Monday.
Yeah, I'll start on Monday. Or like you were saying, Dan, I didn't know you actually got any sleep. You said you did things before you went to bed. And I thought you probably maybe only got 2 hours of sleep a night. Do you sleep much?
No. It's actually, I'm just starting now. And so it was like night terrors, nightmares. Yeah, horrible. Like I wake up sometimes just dripping sweat because I've had dreams that I've got cancer throughout my whole body, and that's it. I'm done. I've got like 2 months to live. And they say it's pretty normal. But it's like you wake up and it's funny because I wake up in this terror thinking, my family and my friends and it crushes your soul. And then you're awake and you're like, how stupid is that? Like it's just, but it's just something that apparently goes through the head of people that have had cancer. They say it dissipates. Like I've spoken to a few people that have had what I had, and they're saying, yeah, it goes away. Like, you know, you'll get it once every 2 months kind of thing, maybe once every quarter, once every 6 months. It just kind of comes back, usually around the time when your scans are due. So like I have to go in every 3 months for the first year, then every 6 months for the next 4 years, and then every year kind of thing. And it scans, right? So it's the scan which tells you something's wrong, right? And that's where the fear comes from. Like when I first, like, so mine was a T4 tumor, which is the largest tumors you can have, the T4. And it started where I thought it was like a toothache. And I never realized. And then I thought I was gaining weight, and I thought, okay, I got sleep apnea. Well, it turns out it was this tumor closing my throat, which was making me snore and everything. So when I wake up and maybe I give a snore and I wake up, it's like that instant, it instantly brings me back to, oh my God, it's back. And that's where the terrors come from.
Wow.
Right. But then it's when I consciously wake up, the choice then becomes, okay, Dan, come on. You know what I mean? Like, so that's for me, that's where that comes from.
And it takes some reps, to speak, you know, from the athletic point of view. Some reps of.
But the last couple of weeks I've been able, or last week and a half, I've been able to start sleeping.
Okay.
And then normally it's not always night terrors. You just stare at the ceiling and your brain goes. And it's funny because I was sharing this yesterday with some people, that it's, you know, when you get a scare like this, right? Like whatever it is in life, it could be cancer, it could be like an ALS diagnosis, it could be whatever it could be. You get a scare where it's possible your life changes forever.
Right.
You start saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to start living this way, and I'm going to start doing these things that I wanted to do. You know, like I wanted to take Christine away for our 10th anniversary to Rome, and the company I was working for at the time says I'm not allowed to take 2 weeks off. If that were to happen tomorrow, I'd be like, I'm gone. Do what you got to do, right? But it's just what it is, right? So it's like, so I made the choice to listen to my company because I was worried about my career, my job, to not take my wife away to Rome, where we've always wanted to go for our 10th anniversary. So we just decided, Christine and I, that we're going to start doing these things, and we're going to start living our life the way we want to live. And the biggest challenge for me at this point, where I'm constantly doing this, is the fact that I don't have the physical vehicle to let me do that right now. Right? Like I just don't. And I have to allow this vehicle to heal in order to get there. And that for me is the big just two choices moment that I'm facing in every single moment of every single day as I move forward with my recovery. Is I want to go. Like I want to get in that 1,000 horsepower Ferrari and drive. And right now I've got a Peugeot, or I've got a Chevette. I've got a 60cc Chevette. Jeff Rico, I don't know if Ryan knows what a Chevette is, but I got a 60cc Chevette that's been rusted, and it's got like the quarter panel on it. It's not getting me anywhere, right? And that's for me. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Or what was it, Lada? A Lada?
Yeah, the Yugo 3-cylinder. Come on.
So that for me is like, it's not allowing me to get there. So it's like, okay, just minute by minute, choice by choice, inch by inch. You know, like Brian Byro tells me all the time, Dan, inch by inch, anything's a cinch, man.
Yeah.
Just you'll get there, and when you get there, you'll be stronger. So
that's another good trigger. That's another good trigger phrase too. You know, inch by inch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely.
So sorry, but thank you for letting me get that out. That was nice.
Well, thank you. No, I sleep was part of it. You know, was that I couldn't even imagine. We'd chatted just a little bit about the sleep side of it before, and that kind of came to mind as we were talking here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Or lack thereof.
Well, listen, we've almost been an hour, gentlemen, and I appreciate everybody for their time. Rico, thank you so much, brother. It's always always a pleasure to have you here, and always just so awesome in the conversation and everything.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
I got chills going up and down my spine meeting you guys, Jeff and Dan. It's always such a pleasure, and I want to thank like Maggie and Daman for being on too, and for listening. And please please tell DJ hi, and God bless you guys.
You got
That's
the best audience in the planet.
honor,
That's my
honor and
opinion.
privilege. Thank you so much.
Well, we're honored
I'll get
and
that.
privileged that you came, Rico. And we'll have to have you on again.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll get the book and I'll get some coins your direction, and then Jeff will
Yes.
get your information, get some stuff to you too. So
Sounds
I'm gonna hold the coins ransom because Ryan said he's got roti for me and stuff. So I'm gonna have to hold that ransom for the roti.
Let's get it done, boys. Let's get it done.
Now I got some leverage. Now I got some leverage.
No, I'm just gonna go bootleg it out to like AliExpress and like get like 1 million of them.
Yeah, that's it. Now you got a choice.
I'll call it
for
Just Two
fun.
Fingers, you know, Just Two Fingers Foundation. No, I'm just joking, guys.
That's
Thanks,
awesome.
everybody.
Awesome.
thank you,
Have a
Damon.
fantastic
Thank you,
day.
Damon.
Thanks.
Love you guys.
Centurion Trucking. Our motto is people before profit. Today's market requires more transparency, consistency, and focus on what our clients need to win. Centurion Trucking and American Logistics are poised to help their clients achieve and surpass their targets. If you're looking for a team that honors your needs, dreams, and aspirations, then get a hold of Daman at American Logistics or Centurion Trucking and start designing